Many thanks for joining us on the program, The Marketplace, and now the details. In a bid to consolidate economic gains chalked so far, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has emphasized a functional economic management team headed by himself and also put in place and meets every week. The Private Enterprise Federation, PEF, is, however, demanding the team periodically publishes reports of its meetings. Chief Executive Officer of PEF, Nana Osei-Bonsu, explains the relevance. According to him, they are rather looking forward to policies that deliver sustainable outcomes than government merely fulfilling its promises.
The EMT is a constitutional institution mandated by the Constitution, and we have to make sure that it's working. And how is it working? If they make a mistake, like the Bank of Ghana Monetary Policy Committee. So we want to also see the workings of the EMT and make sure that at least we can contribute to the efficiency and the optimization of what they put like that. A report of source that will identify what the Bank of Ghana is saying, what the Statistical Department is saying, what is Institute of Statistical and Social Research is saying, and what the private sector is saying. So at least
putting it all together.
Put it all together. An investor sitting there says, yes, this is relevant, and this is not in line with the expected results or performance.
Meanwhile, the Vice President has touted as a key economic development or achievement in his government's first 100 days the recently issued $2.25 billion bond and how it has improved the profile of the public debt. We shall be getting some analysis of this particular issue. But before then, let's go to the Washington, D.C., where the IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde is urging international cooperation among nations to build a more resilient economy. She said this in a speech presented at the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University in advance of the IMF and World Bank annual meetings, which begin this week.
Ghana issued a bond essentially to do this reprofiling, and in that context, we raised some $2.25 billion of investment that came in to buy this CD-denominated bond. There was a CD bond which was issued for 15 years tenor, 15-year tenor, and that brought in $2.25 billion. But what is so remarkable about this particular transaction, and I think it is, for me, the deal of the year so far, we've been able to reprofile our debt, get more foreign exchange without increasing our debt stock. That is indeed remarkable. Many people didn't quite understand the transaction, and they thought that we had gone to borrow $2 billion to add to Ghana's debt. No, we are actually replacing more expensive debt with less expensive debt, elongating it and making it better for this country. In the process, we have seen a massive increase in Ghana's foreign exchange reserves. Massive increase. From independence in 1957 to the end of 2016, Ghana's total foreign reserves was $6 billion. That was what it is. In less than 100 days, we have increased those reserves from $6 billion to $8 billion. And this is the achievement. And with that, you have a lot more confidence in the economy, and you have seen a stability return to the exchange rate. In fact, for the year, the cedi has appreciated in value. When we came in, it was running. Essentially, we have arrested it. and the IGP has the key. She's locked it up. We've arrested it. And we want to make sure we pursue sound policies to keep the cedi stable, but it has appreciated for this year. Inflation has come down from 15.4% when we came into office to 12.8% now. And we've restored confidence in the macroeconomy by anchoring fiscal policy on these pillars of credibility, clarity, and transparency. We have also established, as part of the macroeconomic framework, a new policy regarding government contracts. We came into office and we saw that so many MDAs were issuing contracts that even the central government was not aware of. In fact, certainly we were not aware of. When we came into office, there were all these contracts that had been issued for roads and so on. And how do you control?
All right, so that was rather the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, touting some of his administration's key achievements, economic achievements, of course, in the first 100 days in office. And we shall be talking pretty shortly to an economist for some more analysis on some of the issues raised in this story. And before then, let's now go to the United States of America, precisely Washington, D.C., where IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde is urging international cooperation among nations to build a more resilient economy. She said this in a speech presented at the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University in advance of the IMF meetings, which begin in Washington, D.C. this week.
The good news overall, the world economy is gaining momentum as a cyclical recovery holds out the promise of more jobs, higher incomes, and greater prosperity going forward. Just as we see this momentum unfolding, we also see, at least in most of the advanced economies, doubts about the benefits of economic integration, about the very architecture that has underpinned the world economy for more than 7 decades. Political uncertainty, including at the center of Europe, the sword of protectionism which is hanging over global trade, and underneath those short-term issues is this weak productivity trend that continues to be a severe drag on strong and inclusive growth as we would like it. The policy mix and the policies that have been adopted should certainly not be wasted. And that's what I mean, the policy of no self-inflicted wounds. I see 3 dimensions of economic policies that will actually avoid this risk. First, supporting growth with an emphasis on productivity. Second, sharing the benefits of that growth more equitably. And third, cooperating across borders through a multilateral framework. So that brings me to the concept of inclusive growth. To put it simply, when the benefits of growth are shared more broadly, growth is stronger, more durable, more sustainable, and more resilient. For more than 70 years, the Bretton Woods system, with its systems of rules, shared principles, and institution, has been at the center of this international cooperative effort. And it is a prime example of the international cooperation that has underpinned a phenomenal rise in incomes and living standards around the world. In our hyper-connected world, national policies tend to not only affect our domestic area, but they have spillover effects. Figuratively, we are all sitting on the same boat, which is why we need to encourage countries to support strong international cooperation. La raison d'être of the IMF is to foster such international cooperation.
All right, so let's still do some international development and the issue of the current administration turning to the international capital market very soon with its first Eurobond is on the plate. That's a question market watchers have been asking following government's decision to embark on a New Deal roadshow. Let's now go to our correspondent, George Wiafe, who is currently in Washington, D.C., taking part in the spring meetings by the IMF and the World Bank. He joins me on the phone lines now for some more insights into the meetings and some other relevant developments. Good afternoon and welcome to the Marketplace, George.
Well, thank you very much, Wiafe.
All right, so before we go on, what's the mood like in the U.S.? I mean, has the spring meetings begun already?
Well, there have been some bilateral meetings and also World Economic Outlook report, which is currently being released. So, yes, of course, the meeting has started in Washington, D.C., but more of the bilateral engagement and also the various reports that the IMF is actually releasing. Their flagship reports, one would be on the state of the world economy, the fiscal stability report, and also the banking sector report. As we speak right now, there's an engagement right now by the IMF in trying to release their World Economic Outlook report.
All right, and what is going to be the itinerary for today?
Well, there isn't any specific itinerary. There are several engagements going on. There are official engagement, there are side meetings, there are bilateral meetings. But as you can see, that's what I told you earlier on, that the World Economic Forum or the World Economic Outlook report is being released by the fund. And it will be one of the bases for several engagements that will happen at the fund.
All right. Now, let's now stay on the issue of what we are discussing. And is government really going to issue the Eurobond?
Well, if you engage the team that is actually having this non-deal roadshow, basically is an engagement that government would have with investors. These are investors that actually heavily participate in cedi and dollar bonds that government issues. Now, from the team that is embarking on this, they say, no, we are not issuing a Eurobond for now. We want to engage these investors, give them some assurance, try and use this engagement to kind of build up confidence in the economy. What are the issues that these investors have? Do they have concerns with management of the economy? Do they have issues with the budget policies and all those things? And they want to use this engagement that will take them to London, Boston, New York, and of course, Washington, D.C., to assure them that this is what they want to do. So that if they have any concerns, they can address it there. Now, if this engagement is kind of good, then in the future, they might use it, or it might form bases or influence government decisions to go to the international market and raise any funds. But for now, they are not doing this. Now, the team we have here, I can tell you that is made up of the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, the Central Bank Governor, and other officials of the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance.
All right. So if government, I mean, do you have any wind of how much government would demand or would borrow from the capital markets internationally?
Well, as we speak right now, there isn't anything on the table as in government going out to borrow. Why people are speculating or thinking that a Eurobond might be an option, because often when there's non-deal roadshow is done, it's often more of like serve as a precursor or the ground, lay the grounds for a Eurobond to be issued. But engaging the team carrying out this non-deal roadshow, the argument is that no, Eurobond is not on the table right now. Let's finish the engagement. And that might influence the decision that we want to take in going out to issue a Eurobond.
All right. So if anything becomes possible, what will be the impact of this non-deal Eurobond roadshow on the economy?
Well, therefore, let's cast our mind back. Recently, some of these foreign investors reacted when there were concerns about government spending about 7 billion Ghana cedis and wasn't accounted for. So you saw how the cedi went down. So it looks like these foreign investors really have a hold on the economy. So anytime they have concerns and they react, there are ripples. So this engagement would offer the country an opportunity to assure them what we are doing so that we wouldn't witness any reaction that could be described as negative and have impact on the economy. So if there are more confidence or build up confidence in the economy, then it means that more investment inflows. Again, if they are also convinced in the team, then that could impact on the cost of funds that government might want to issue or raise from the international market.
All right, thank you very much, George. We'll be getting back to you as and when some issues crop up. That was George Wiafe in Washington, D.C., attending the IMF World Bank spring meetings. Now, the Chamber of Mines has argued that any move by government to suspend the issuance of small-scale mining may result in some legal tussles. Speaking in an interview with Joy Business, Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber, Suleiman Koni, revealed government's resolve to fully ban small-scale mining could see government dragged to court by some bigger firms.
So a sweeping ban is problematic. I think we have rules and regulations in this country. So you don't want a situation where you have, the operatives who are duly licensed taking government on legally. I think what needs to be done is, like I have said, who are they? Are we really monitoring their activities and actually regulating them the way we should do? And once we do this, I'm sure that they would really come together and do what is expected. But banning it outright, I think, may not be the best for the country, because I know there would be legal ramifications. These are companies who have licenses, duly, signed licenses, given to them by government, and therefore, I think we just have to be careful the way we want to go. Our best bet is to identify the hotspots. Clearly illegal activity, mining on water bodies, on public lands, naturally we would have to, that's where we have to start from and just stop them from the activity. Okay.
We're still live on the marketplace and do some more stories on the Vice President. And there's a call has gone for government to consider locally produced fertilizers for oil and gas fields for the production of fertilizers for the country rather than mass importation. Speaking to Joy Business, oil and gas consultant Kwame Jantua argues the decision by government to reduce the prices of subsidized fertilizers is not good for Ghana. Is good for Ghana as it will save the country much revenue.
Month reduced prices of subsidized fertilizer for farmers in the country by about 50% as one of the measures to improve the nation's agricultural output. Commenting on the announcement, member of the Public Interest Accountability Committee, Kwame Jantua, thinks Ghana as a nation has come of age to begin production of fertilizers locally. This, according to him, will ensure farmers in the country get their allocations timely and also save some substantial revenue for the state.